Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session, we are going to see very important articles that appear in our today's Hindu newspaper. Before getting started, I want to make a small announcement. If you're facing problem with CSAT and if you want to take CSAT foundation course, we in our academy, we are going to launch CSAT new course from 12th of February. And the class timings will be from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. and the duration of this course is around 40 days, and you will be having a clear cut concepts and even question solving will be there on everyday basis based on common sense, and as well as we are going to focus on especially high yield areas in your CSAT. And the cost of this course is just 2,500 rupees, and we are providing both on online and offline. If you want to take this course on online, please download our app and you can do purchase of this course directly in the app. And if you want to take offline course, so please do contact us in our office, which is located in Ashok Nagar, Hyderabad, exactly above Vikas Book Center, guys. Don't forget this. And now let us see the important topics of the day. The first topic it is Center prescribes labels for all photorealistic AI content online. So actually it is not a new topic. From October 2025 onwards, we are discussing about control of AI generated content by Government of India, and we already discussed about what is that information technology rules as well, and one more update related to the control of AI content, and now Government of India came up with the new rules. So here you have to see what are those new rules now. And this topic is important from governance point of view from GS paper 2. And next topic is opposition MPs submit notice seeking removal of Om Birla as Lok Sabha Speaker. So this article is talking about removal of Lok Sabha Speaker, and here you have to know certain basic points related to the provisions of speaker. First, exactly who you have to know who is that speaker, how this speaker is elected, what is the eligibility criteria to become a speaker, and next you have to see the articles related to the speaker, and next what is the removal process. Okay, everything. There are many areas where UPSC can keep traps under this area, and this year the students who are going to write this 2026 prelims, for sure 100% you will be getting question related to this speaker for sure, guys, and this will be one of the important area from your polity this year. And next topic is National Deworming Day. Every year twice we'll celebrate this deworming day, and you have to know what is a deworming. And after becoming a civil servant, you will be also have to participate in this kind of events to improve the health in the people. So you have to know what is that National Deworming Day and what exactly you are going to do in that day. And next topic is global warming and pollution are stripping vibrant colors from nature. This article is talking about how global warming and pollution is affecting our biodiversity. And this topic is important from environment and ecology. You may get directly mains-based question from this topic. And next topic is a reckoning for India's aviation sector. As you know that what are the recent changes came up by this DGCA and what are the issues that we faced in month of December, and here that is about this article is related to just know about what are the new guidelines came up by this DGCA and how DGCA is trying to improve aviation safety in India, and you have to know certain data related to this Indian aviation sector. And next topic is about auroras. In your geography, you'll come across this magical bright lights at the polar regions like South Pole and North Pole, and you have to know what is the mechanism of this auroras and how many types of auroras. And you may get possible prelims question related to this auroras. Already UPSC asked a previous year's question on prelims related to this, and you may also have a chance of repetition of that theme. So you have to know about that because there is one image in our newspaper showing about this aurora borealis. Okay, so these are the topics that we are going to see in this class. Okay, now let us see this title. Read out the title clearly. Center prescribes labels for all photorealistic AI content online. So what is the problem of AI content, guys? So the main keyword is content generated by AI. For example, we can easily generate whatever the content we want. We can generate text, we can generate voice, and also we can generate images and even videos within span of minutes by using different AI tools. And what is happening here? Everyone is having social media accounts, not only one, many accounts, right? So what we are doing, we are trying to post this content that we generated in AI in our social media platforms. Someone are using for good and someone are using for bad. So what happens whenever we are generating that kind of images, and if you are posting in the social media for the negative purpose, what happens? It may create law and order problem. It may create loss of trust of public on the government, and even that will lead to spread of misinformation and disinformation. So because of this, what happened? Overall, the stability of that government will be getting affected. So because of this, now our government of India wants to control this AI generated content. So what we discussed in the month of October and as well as November in 2025, what are the guidelines given by the government of India to control AI generated content? If you're generating any image, on that image we need to create a clear cut label that AI generated image. And next one, how much percentage of that area should be covered? 10%. And even if you're generating any video, initially some seconds, 10% of time also should be given to show a disclaimer that this video is generated by AI. And next one is, they said that it is a responsibility of that social media platform to take a clear cut consent from that person who is uploading that kind of text or image or video. It is the responsibility of that platform. So all these things we discussed in the month of October and as well as November 2025. And now again, central government came up with further more clear cut guidelines related to this control of AI content. So now let us see why and what are those contents. Here if you see, now central government came up with new rules related to AI based synthetic content. Why? To ensure clear and prominent labeling. Okay, now let us see what are those key changes. There are 4 to 5 new rules and we have to know that. And here from UPSC point of view, what you have to see is, first of all, you have to know what is AI based content or what is synthetic content. You may get a question because from October onwards continuously this issue is in news. That means for sure UPSC wants you to know about this changes, right? Because in future you are going to be the part of policy making, implementation, everything. That means you need to know this. So UPSC can ask a question in this way. First one here is, recently synthetic content is seen in news. What does it mean? They may give you A, B, C, D options. That is the first possible question. And second possible question is, recently central government released new rules to control AI based content in social media platforms. Consider the following statements. So in that they may give you about this new rules and they may ask you which of the above are correct or incorrect, right? Those are the two possible questions from your prelims. And from mains point of view, you may get analytical based questions. Like recently, Government of India proposed new rules to control AI generated content in social media platforms. Examine the provisions or analyze the provisions and suggest measures. Like that, they will give you the question. So if from mains point of view, you have to know why these rules came up by the government and what rules they came up and what are the positives and negatives, and if you want to suggest any measures, so what measures you can suggest for improving of more control of this AI based content. Are you understanding in this way? If you are from ICT background or computer science background, if you are from AI based courses, if you did this, then you may get a question. Yes, you did a diploma course or you did a certificate course or your graduation is from AI. So I want to ask you a question. Nowadays, AI use is increased in India and India is the top one country which is using most of these AI apps, and it is also leading to this violation of Article 21, right to privacy, everything. So as a graduate from that, can you suggest some measures? How can we use this AI in a right manner? Can you suggest some principles to the, or can you suggest some measures to the government? So like that, they will be asking you your own personal experience, and they will try to test your knowledge in AI, and they'll test whether can you give any suggestions to the government related to the tackling of this problem of AI or not. So in that way, so try to check from your graduation also, whatever the knowledge you have to use that knowledge in the policy making. They will be testing whether you can use your knowledge or not also. And this year I want to tell one thing. I'm in constant contact with the students who are going for this year interview, and they are saying that most of the questions are from current affairs, and this one is from their graduation background only, rather than their state, rather than their everything. They are asking more. 90% of questions are from current affairs and their graduation related subjects, and they are connecting their graduation subjects with current affairs based questions. So you need to have a good command on your graduation subjects also. If there is any current affairs related to your subject, for example, if you did medical sciences, there are lots of issues related to contamination of water, new diseases, new virus, and gene therapies, science and technology, biotechnology. From there, they are connecting. And for example, if you're from civil engineering, as you all know that many bridges falling down, especially that happened in the Bihar. So if you are a civil engineer, so tell me about your knowledge. With your knowledge, can you please suggest some measures to improve the building safety? And even we are building national heritage things related to this Lothal museum, everything, right? So here, how can you design? How can you propose a design for that kind of architectural monuments in India? And they will be also asking some questions like whatever the important sites which are there in India, they were built during this ancient times and medieval times. But even though today they are strong, but what are the buildings that we are constructing now? They are collapsing. Don't you think that we are not maintaining the quality? So if you want to maintain the quality, which kind of products that we can use? So like that, they will be asking questions. Are you understanding? So here, based on your graduation subjects, based on your graduation knowledge, they will be asking. For example, if you're from agriculture background, nowadays we studied about root wilt disease, and even we are seeing that because of climate change, the productivity of our agriculture is decreasing. So based on your knowledge, can you suggest some measures like how can we ensure food security in our country? How can you increase? And what is your opinion on GM, genetically modified crops? Like that, they will be connecting your graduation subjects with current affairs. That means you need to have in-depth knowledge regarding the subjects that you have been done in your graduation also. Okay, for example, if you're from economics background, you know economics, every day there will be lots of current affairs related to economics like repo rate, banking problems, and recent budget, railway budget, everything that you know. So like that, try to incorporate your graduation knowledge also in between. Okay, now let us see this article. If you see the context, this article is saying that Indian government is pushing for regulating AI generated content, and this gained momentum from 2024 itself, because there are lots of concerns related to this deep fakes, synthetic media used in disinformation, and even electoral interference is happening, like generating some AI based images related to the political parties and what are the things they did. So that what happened, there is manipulation of political agenda is happening, and that led to the draft amendment. So recently we came up with this information technology rules of 2021, and even IT ministry in October 2025 suggest some guidelines to control this AI generated content in the social media platforms. There they said that 10% of that image should be disclosed with this AI based content, or whatever the video they are releasing. So they have to, if that video is generated by this AI, they have to show a disclaimer that this video is generated by AI. And if you see the new rules, or the first one is they came up with the definition of synthetic content for the first time. So please make a note, synthetic content. Write down the definition. You may get directly ABCD options in your paper for sure this time. Synthetic content. This content is defined as audio, visual information, artificially created, modified, or altered using computer resources to appear real and indistinguishable from natural persons or events. You may get in the simple, very recently synthetic content is seen in news. Which of the following option exactly define this? They'll give you simply ABCD. Okay, and I want to give you one tip. If you're getting that kind of question, ABCD, mostly the answer will be there in option A only. You can check with PYQs. But see all those options, and if you are not exactly knowing that which is option, keep option A. Don't tell this to anyone. Okay, so that's what, if you do PYQs, you'll be getting some hints. Like if you don't know the answer, how you have to approach that. Okay, next one here is, they came up with mandatory labeling. We know about this mandatory labeling, like if that image is generated by AI, 10% should be like labeled, and even video should be displayed. And next one here is reduce or take down timelines. So now whichever the platforms in which this AI generated misinformation, disinformation circulating, now platform has to remove that content. They have to automatically identify which is true and which is not true, and they have to remove this. Now they decreased the timeline. Earlier they gave the timeline of 36 hours, but now that had decreased it to 3 hours. Okay, and next one here is, if that content is non-consensual nudity or deepfakes, they have to remove within 2 hours only. So this is the timeline reduction in this new laws. And next one here is state level provision. State can now designate multiple officers to issue takedown orders. Okay, so because India is huge populous country and we don't know, and every person will be having not only single social media account, many. So what happens, within span of seconds, huge amount is uploaded and circulating in the social media. So here, if you want to get the orders from only court, what happens? That news will become viral, and you know, within minutes and within hours, millions of views. Some articles and some images, some videos will be getting huge number of views. So that what happens, there will be rapid spread of misinformation. So that to control that, now state can designate multiple officers to give the orders to remove that kind of video or image or content. And next one here is compliance and penalties. If that social media platform is not responding, then what happened? Now this social media platform is now punishable. Okay, and we will think that now this social media platform is a publisher, and now we are going to punish that entire social media platform. So these are the new rules which came up by this government of India. And what are the reasons why it came up with this kind of new rules now? Here is, first one is to curb deepfakes and as well as misinformation, that we know, because it may cause societal harm, it may cause law and order problems and instability in the society. And we have to prevent impersonation and user harm. So many a times what happens, recently we discussed one article, like one Brahman photo had been created with a garland of chappals because he sold alcohol in a village. Can you recall that case study? So if we are generating that kind of images, means what happens, there will be a defamation. Yes or no? We are decreasing the value of that person in the society. So to stop that, we need to have this kind of rules. And next one is, we have to protect elections and as well as democracy. In our country, there is a risk of electoral manipulations by creating this fake political data and as well as fake AI based images. What happens? Obviously, it will influence public opinion. So if you are influencing public opinion in the wrong way, what happens? Can we ensure free and fair elections? No. So for that reason, and next one is, we want to boost platform responsibility, because we have very big social media giants in our country. For example, we have Facebook, we have Telegram, we have WhatsApp, whatnot. So what happens? Because of this, there is a faster action, and as well as if harmful content is becoming viral, then what happens? It may create a huge problem in our country. So for that, we want to increase safety and as well as innovation, and we have to balance those both. And next one is we want to respond to the cyber crime and social issues as well. So for these things, yes, our government came up with this new rules to control all these things. And see this article, title says opposition MPs submit notice seeking removal of Om Birla as Lok Sabha Speaker. In our parliament, we have two houses. What are those two houses? Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Other names of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, which is lower house and which is upper house? Lok Sabha is called as lower house and Rajya Sabha is called as upper house. Which is permanent house? Rajya Sabha is permanent house. Why it is permanent? There is no dissolution. What is the tenure of members of Rajya Sabha? 6 years. What is the tenure of members of Lok Sabha? 5 years. That means after every 5 years, this Lok Sabha will be dissolved, and next what happens? New elections will happen, and again new Lok Sabha will form. Right. So at present, we have 18th Lok Sabha. The thing that you have to remember from this 18th Lok Sabha is we have Speaker. Who is next to Speaker in Lok Sabha? Deputy Speaker. But remember this thing, in this present Lok Sabha, we don't have this Deputy Speaker. From 2019 onwards, there is no Deputy Speaker. That is the first important point that you have to remember. On this, UPSC can ask you a statement-based thing. Okay. And next, you guys tell me, who is the speaker? So for every house, what is the function of Lok Sabha? What we'll do in this Lok Sabha? Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha are part of legislature. Yes or no? What is the function of legislature? What they will do? They will just make laws. Yes or no? Legislature work is making laws. Then what is executive? Okay, if you see the important organs of the government, we have three important organs. First one is legislature, second one is executive, and third one is judiciary. So what this legislature do? It will make laws. What this executive do? It will implement laws. So who will comes under this executive? So we have different ministries, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Home Affairs. So all these ministers will come under this part of executive, and even IAS officers who will implement the schemes at the ground level will be the part of executive. And what is judiciary? We have three-tier judicial system in India: Supreme Court, High Court, District Courts or subordinate courts. And what is the function of this judiciary? What are the laws made by the government, legislature, they will check. What they'll check? Whether they are according to the provisions of our constitution or not. If they are according to the provision, it's okay, it's good. If it is not, then those laws will be struck down by the judiciary by saying it is null and void. So these are the three important organs. So in this legislature, we have Lok Sabha and as well as Rajya Sabha. Okay, so in this houses, what happens? Proceedings will happen, and even we have sessions. So how many sessions do we have in a year? 3 sessions. BMW, budget session, monsoon session and winter session. These are the 3 sessions. Now which session is going on? Budget session is going on. Okay, budget session will be the first session of the year. Yes or no? When this budget session will start? Normally February. On every February 1st, budget will be placed in the house by whom? Union Finance Minister. That is the thing that is clear, right? So what is happening in this present session? Now what is the date today? 11. So when this budget session started? On February 1st. Okay, whenever the session starts in every year, first session will be started with motion of thanks. What is this motion of thanks? The members of this parliament have to say thanks to the president. That is called as motion of thanks. So all this disturbances started from that motion of thanks. So what happened here is, whenever this motion of thanks happened, so who is the leader of opposition party now in Lok Sabha? So here the mic of that Rahul Gandhi was cut down and he cannot talk in the session. From there onwards, this issue had been started. From last 10 days onwards, this issue is in news. And finally, opposition party leaders along with other parties like Samajwadi Party and DMK Party, all those people, they came together and they decided that we have to remove the speaker. And finally, they started collecting the signatures, because if they want to start this resolution, they have to get support from other members. Minimum, they have to get support from 50 members. Finally, they got support from around more than 120 members of this Lok Sabha, and finally they submitted this resolution now because of the citizen news. So here what you have to see: who is the speaker, what are the articles related to the speaker, how the speaker will be elected, what is the majority to elect the speaker, and what is the process of removal of the speaker, and what is the majority we require to remove the speaker, and who is this deputy speaker, everything that you have to know. So I'll tell you where the loopholes can be used by UPSC in these statements clearly now. Okay, if you see the context, it says that opposition parties belonging to Indian National Developmental Inclusive Alliance. So this alliance is nothing, alliance means nothing but group, right? Different parties, they came under a group called as alliance, and this alliance, they submitted a notice to Secretary General of Lok Sabha. Very, very important point, please make a note. Seeking the removal of speaker. So if you want to remove the speaker in Lok Sabha, we have to come up with a resolution, and this resolution should be signed by minimum at least 50 members of Lok Sabha. And that resolution will be given to, who is the next to this speaker? Deputy speaker. But as I said, there is no deputy speaker. Then whom they will be giving this kind of resolution? Secretary General of Lok Sabha. This will be the first statement in your examination. Okay, so how you can get a statement is, resolution of removal of speaker will be given to deputy speaker generally. If deputy speaker is absent, it is given to President of India. Is that statement right? No. So to whom this resolution will be given? Secretary General of Lok Sabha. In that way, this is the first loophole can be used by UPSC. Okay, first you have to remember is, this resolution now, because of absence of deputy speaker in Lok Sabha, it has submitted to Secretary General of Lok Sabha. Very, very important point. Why they want to remove? Because what is the function of the speaker? He has to ensure decorum. What is decorum? Minimum numbers of MPs to be there in the house, so that we can have the proceedings in the house. And he has to ensure that the business of house is happening according to the constitution and as well as rules book of Lok Sabha. That is the second function. And next one is, he should act impartially. But here the allegation is, he is always showing partiality towards BJP party. So because of this, we want to remove that guy. Okay, that is the allegation. And if you see about what are the allegations, the first important one here is, as I said, the issue started from this motion of thanks. On this motion of thanks, here leader of opposition party Rahul Gandhi is not allowed to participate in the key debates because of the cut-off mic of this Rahul Gandhi. That is the first issue. And next issue, they said that BJP MP, his name is Nishikant Dubey, he had misconduct even though speaker didn't took any action. He is showing partiality towards this BJP party. And next allegation is, even speaker is also showing some unsubstantiated charges on women leaders, women MPs of this Congress, and there are also claiming that there are also abuse on this people. And next one here is, suddenly all of a sudden he suspended 8 opposition MPs without adequate justification also. That means again he is showing partiality towards this BJP party. Okay, so because of all these things, now they want to remove, and even they are making one more allegation that if opposition party members wants to raise any questions related to urgent public importance, they are not allowing to raise their voice. So because of this, it is undermining democratic functioning of Lok Sabha. So these are the allegations on which they want to remove the speaker now. Okay, if you see the election of speaker, who will be the speaker? First of all, MP. So member of Lok Sabha, after electing our MPs, in that members of Lok Sabha, one person will be elected as speaker, right? That means if I ask about what is eligibility criteria of a speaker, what you have to say? He has to qualify the eligibility criteria of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha? Lok Sabha, because he is a member of Lok Sabha only. So after electing as MP, we are going for conducting of elections. And who will decide this election date of a speaker? Very important, President. So President will be addressing the first session. In that first session, he will be deciding the date for the speaker election. That means President will be deciding the speaker election date. And after the speaker, we have deputy speaker. Who will decide the date for this deputy speaker? Is that President? Yes. After election of the speaker, next this speaker will be deciding the date for this deputy speaker. These are the two important points that you have to remember. Don't forget. Okay, for the election of speaker, President will be deciding the date. For deputy speaker, speaker will be deciding the date. And next, if you see the articles related to the speaker, please make a note. We have article 93, 94, 95 and 96. This year you can expect a question on a pair based related to this articles, guys. Because recently we discussed about article 143, presidential reference, article 200, article 201, and recently we discussed article 324, 325, 326 related to this Election Commission of India. And again now the articles related to the speaker is also in news. Article 93, 94. So they will give you in this format, column A, column B. They'll give you articles on one side. They may give you explanation of that articles, and they will ask you to identify correct and incorrect pairs. Which are correct or how many are correct. Okay, so be clear about this very important articles. Article 142, 143, article 200, 201, and next one is 324 and speaker related articles. Clearly, don't miss that. Okay, here if you see the articles related to the speaker, article 93 says that Lok Sabha elected speaker and deputy speaker from its members at the commencement of each new house or when office become vacant. Whenever office is becoming vacant or whenever we are forming the new house, we are going for elections of the speaker and deputy speaker, and they are the part of Lok Sabha. That is the first article. And article 94 talks about vacation. If the seat of speaker is vacant or if speaker wants to resign, and the removal of the speaker or deputy speaker, all these things is talked in this article 94. Okay, if he is vacating the office, if he is vacating speaker, then he will be vacating as even MP also. That is the first one which mainly said here. And if speaker wants to resign, to whom he has to give this resignation letter? Deputy speaker. If deputy speaker is not there, secretary. Okay, this is also the area. Okay, if anyone wants to remove him or if he wants to resign on his own self, he has to give the letter to the subordinate, that is deputy speaker. If he is not available, now he has to give to secretary of Lok Sabha. And next one is, which is a majority we need to remove this person? Effective majority. It is not absolute majority. In Lakshmikant 7th edition, it is written as absolute majority, but it is effective majority. What is effective majority? Total number. Tell me what is effective majority? Total number of the house minus vacant seats. Okay, and whatever the number you will get, you need to get more than 50% majority. That is called as effective majority. For presiding officers, it may be like chairman of Rajya Sabha or it may be Lok Sabha speaker. We need to get this effective majority. Effective majority is only used here. You have to remember that for sure. And next one here is, if you want to remove speaker and if you want to pass a resolution, we have to give for sure 14 days of prior notice to speaker. Without that, we can't go for the process. That is a very important thing that is written in this article 94 itself. And article 95 says that during vacancy or removal proceedings, deputy speaker performs speaker duties. Very, very important. if we are passing a resolution and if we gave the notice to the speaker, and speaker will not be the person who will be sitting here. Okay, if you see Lok Sabha, where the speaker will sit, here the speaker will sit, and here all the other peoples will be sitting like this, right? So if we are giving the resolution to remove the speaker, now speaker will not sit here, he will be sitting in the here itself. Okay, and here he can participate in the proceedings on which he is going to be removed. And next one here is, whenever speaker is sitting in this position, when he will vote whenever we are having a tie. That is called as casting vote to remove the tie. But if the resolution is going to pass on removal on the speaker, now he is sitting here, not here. So here now he can cast his vote on the first instance only against his removal. Are you understanding? Because he is not a speaker now, he is a member like others. So he can also now vote on that resolution of removal of speaker in the first instance. That is the thing that you have to remember. If he is sitting in this location, he will be voting only in the last. That is called as casting vote. If he is sitting here now, he is not a speaker now, then what happens? He will be acting as same as other members of parliament. Now he can vote on the first instance. You have to remember that for sure. Okay, many students will be confusing here. Okay, Article 96 says that the speaker does not vacate office upon dissolution of Lok Sabha. Very, very important point. As we all know that for every 5 years, this Lok Sabha will be dissolving. Yes or no? Lok Sabha will be dissolving every 5 years. Rajya Sabha is a permanent house, no dissolving, but 1/3 of members will be retiring, right? So here for every 5 years, whatever the Lok Sabha that we formed, it will be dissolving completely. That means MPs has to vacate that Lok Sabha and they have to go back and they have to participate in elections if they want. And speaker will be there like that only. And next, after the elections, we are going to form a new house. In this new house, till returning officer will come, till this new speaker is elected, that speaker will be there only. Okay, that is a thing which mainly said in Article 96. Okay, and if you see the removal process, first one is, we have to come up with a resolution of removal of this speaker, and that should be supported by minimum 50 members, and we have to give that resolution to this deputy speaker. If deputy speaker is not there, secretary of the Lok Sabha. And again, we will be giving that same removal related resolution as a notice for the speaker of Lok Sabha. So that speaker will be not acting as a speaker and he will be sitting as a normal member. And now this address of the house will be done by deputy speaker. If deputy speaker is not there, we have a panel of 10 members. Who is the first member? He will be presiding the house. Okay. And the next one here is, we need to go for discussions, debate on removal of this speaker, and finally we will go for voting. In this voting, they need to get effective majority. If you want to elect a speaker, which majority we need? Just simple majority for election of a speaker, but for removal, it is effective majority. Okay, so here the last point here is, in that process, speaker can speak, can take part in the proceedings, and at that time he can vote in a first instance. Okay, so these are the points that you have to remember. And on the small points, UPSC will change president with deputy speaker with parliament, like that. You have to be very, very careful. Clear? Okay, now let us see the next article. See this image. So what can you see here? Students, you can see tablets. How many tablets are there in that? Only single tablet. Okay, so here if you read what is this images, as part of National Deworming Day, Tamil Nadu government distributed deworming tablets to the students of government schools. As part of routine, students of this government school Vellore were explained about the benefits of deworming. So actually the problem in children here is, children will play different areas and will leave them, and sometimes we will not teach about the cleanliness. Even sometimes before washing their hands, they will eat the food. Then what happens? And even many a times they will not cut their nails also. Because of this, what happens? We can see the dust, everything got placed in their nails. So what happens if you are consuming if especially children are consuming the food without maintaining proper sanitation neatness, there will be the growing of tapeworms in the stomach. Then what happens? What are the food they will eat? And the length of the tapeworms will be like very, very long, even 1 meter to 3 meters long. You can imagine. And have you ever seen, normally if you cut the goat in the intestines, in that intestines also we can see white color worms. In the same way, in human bodies also we have that intestines. In our intestines we'll be having that tapeworms. What happens here is, if the tapeworms are there in the intestines, if the children they are taking even balanced diet also, there will be no improvement in the height, no improvement in the weight, and even there will be cognitive disabilities can be seen in the children, because what are the nutrition they'll take, this worms will be absorbing that nutrients that will be not allowing for the baby's development. So because of this, every year once in 6 months, the date here is February 10th and August 10th, we are celebrating this National Deworming Day. On this day we are giving just one tablet for children who are in this adolescent age. That tablet name is albendazole, and there is a fixed dose 400 mg. In Telugu, we'll call it as Nulipurgulu unnai kadupulo. Because of that, the children is not going, no increase of height, age, everything. So here this albendazole tablet of 400 mg is given to the children who are in this adolescent age. That too twice in a year, once in every 6 months. So we are celebrating that as National Deworming Day. We are going to remove these worms. Okay, so here if you see about this National Deworming, why you have to know about this is, in future you will be also organizing that kind of events, because you are the part of executive and you have to take part in this improvement of health of your district. Okay, so you have to know this. What is this National Deworming Day? National Deworming Day is a structured planning, interministerial coordination, and they're going for standard drug administration to ensure national-wide coverage of giving of this albendazole tablets. And in this, they are focusing on especially dates 10th February and 10th August, and they want to maintain good intestinal health for the children, and they are targeting 1 to 19 years, and they are targeting school going children and as well as Anganwadi enrolled children and as well as college children, where government will be providing free of cost tablets of this albendazole. And next one here is, tablets are administered after midday meals under supervision of teachers and as well as Anganwadi workers. Okay, if some students had been missed on that day, means again they are going to have one more drive on this February 16th. On that day they will identify the missed students and they will be getting these tablets. And this program is having a multi-ministry collaboration between the Ministry of Health, Education, Women and Child Development. Okay, that's it guys. And what is the importance here is, first one here is, this age group 1 to 14 years are at high risk population, and in this age group they don't know proper maintenance of sanitation, cleaning of their bodies and how they have to eat food, and they'll be playing in the different areas, all those things. So because of this they will be getting lots of infections related to the stomach and GIT related. So we are targeting this age group. And what happens here is, many a times if you are having this tapeworms in your stomach, you will be not producing proper iron in your body as well. So because of this there is a prevalence of anemia, because these worms they suck blood and nutrients directly. So because of this what happens, there will be decreasing of your blood content, blood percentage in your body. So we want to prevent this anemia. And next one is, we have to improve these nutritional outcomes, because if you are removing these worms in your body, obviously your body will be absorbing more nutrients, and that will lead to better weight gain and as well as physical growth, and even that will lead to improved cognitive development in the children. Why? Because if you are eating food and if your nutrients are not absorbing by your body, you will be feeling lethargy and you will be not feeling active in the class. So because of this what happened, there will be no proper cognitive abilities to the expected level in the children, that we can see normally in this government schools. So here we are focusing on increasing learning and cognitive abilities also in the children. And next one here is, because of this kind of drives, in many states there is a lot of improvement For example, in Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Telangana, and as well as Tripura. So because of this, we want to implement in other states as well, so that we can increase the efficiency of this deworming. And next one is we can reach children irrespective of whatever the socio-economic background they belongs to. And this one is obviously healthier children will contribute to the long-term capital gain of our country. We can improve social capital of our country. So this is the significance of this day. Okay, just one tablet, we are going to have all these advantages. Okay. And now let us see the next article. Look at the title: Global warming and pollution are stripping vibrant colors of nature. What is this article talking about? Global warming. Second one is pollution. So you have to know what is the global warming and what is the pollution, and you have to know what are the reasons behind this global warming and as well as what are the reasons behind this pollution. And here now you have to link this global warming and pollution to this vibrant colors of nation. So here what can you see in this image, what it is about? Coral reefs. What are these coral reefs? How they are formed? Coral reefs are formed by small microscopic organisms and why these corals became white? What is the reason? Because of which algae? Zooxanthellae. So normally what happens? Corals are nothing but polyps. They will be absorbing carbon and carbonates from the sea water, and they will be building the shell around them. So in that way they will form this kind of reefs. In that reefs they will give shelter for the zooxanthellae, which is an algae. So between this polyps and this zooxanthellae there will be a symbiotic relation. So here this coral polyps will be giving shelter to the zooxanthellae, and zooxanthellae will perform photosynthesis and it will prepare food and will supply to this polyps. So here what happens, if they are in a correct coordination, polyps and zooxanthellae, we can see these coral reefs will be like vibrant colors like green, pink, and you can see lots of videos in YouTube related to this healthy coral reefs. But what happens if there is any pollution, if there is increased acidification, if zooxanthellae is leaving these corals, then what happens? There will be no colors, there will be only the shells which is made up of calcium carbonate will be there. That will be appearing pale white in color. So this event is called as coral bleaching. Do you know this word bleach? Bleaching powder. Why will you use this bleaching powder? To clean this everything, plankton, algae, everything. So they will be cleaning that. So what happens here? This corals are left with this zooxanthellae and they are appearing like pale white in color. So this event is called as coral bleaching. So here, why this coral bleaching will happen here is, if you want to maintain a healthy coral or formation of coral, there are certain conditions to be satisfied. What are the conditions to be satisfied for the formation of these corals? Come on. First one is temperature. What is the temperature? 27 degrees centigrade. Next, water should be neat and tidy. It should not be turbid. And next one is, there should not be any pollution. Next one is, there should not be any ocean acidification. Next. Only tropical area. In tropical area and temperate area we can see, but in tropical area we have this hard corals, in temperate area we have soft corals. That is the difference. Next. Next. Sunlight should fall. If sunlight is not falling, why? How can this zooxanthellae will make this photosynthesis? Yes, next. Huh? Next. So like that, if those conditions are not satisfied, for example, if there is increasing of ocean acidification, if there is increasing of ocean temperature, so how this ocean temperature will be increased? If there is any nearby industry, as you know that in industries we will use water as a coolant. So if you are using water as a coolant, it will be absorbing the heat from that machines, and outlet water will be like hot water. If you are releasing this hot water into this nearby water bodies, then what happens? Ocean temperature will be increased. Then that will lead to expelling of zooxanthellae. And even ocean acidification, whenever there is more and more carbon dioxide is absorbed into this water. As you know, which are those carbon sinks examples? We have forest and we have oceans. If these oceans are absorbing more and more carbon dioxide, what happens? Ocean acidification can happen. And if there is any turbidity, if there is pollution, and even if you are going for developmental activities, like Great Nicobar Island, like that kind of projects. And even if you're going for dredging of that coastal areas, everything, obviously it will be affecting this corals. That is the first thing they mainly said here. And apart from they also gave certain examples. The examples were because of increasing of temperature, what is happening here is there is changing of colors of our habitats. There is loss of habitats is happening. And recently we discovered that penguins had been died at a significant number. Around 60,000 penguins were died. Yes. So here because of this global warming, melting of glaciers, where do these penguins live normally in these regions which are having very cool temperature? So if the temperature is rising there, will these animals survive? No, that is one mass death of penguins happened in the recent past. That is one example you can see. And next one is we are going for large scale deforestation. If you are going for the deforestation that area, we are going to lose our biodiversity. You can add this example also because of this townshipment, a transshipment port and as well as township development in this Nicobar region, we are going to cut how many trees? Because of this, which animal species is in danger? Nicobar megaport and as well as one more animal I said. Tree shrew of Nicobar. So like that, if you're going for this deforestation, obviously it will be having impact on biodiversity. And next they gave one more thing here. Here, scientists reported that ladybirds and dragonflies are also decreasing every year. Especially in temperate regions, we are facing this heat waves. Heat waves is nothing but increasing of temperature. So because of this increasing of temperature, ladybirds and dragonflies number is decreasing in these temperate regions. That is also one example they gave here. Please write these examples. You can use that examples in your essay and as well as in your GS paper 3 as examples. And next they said one important point here. The important point here is one bright side they studied is there is development of Amazon forest. Amazon forest is regenerating at a faster pace, and because of this there is a positive effect that is seen on butterfly species in this Amazon region. Okay, and Amazon, you have to remember one point, it is called as lungs of the planet Earth because it is having huge evergreen forest and it is absorbing huge amounts of carbon dioxide. Okay, so it is called as lungs of the planet. In the same way, in 2020 there was a question like they asked about the functions of wetlands. It is called as kidneys of Earth. Yeah, kidneys of Earth, like that they gave one question. So see that question in the 2020 only. Yeah, if I'm not wrong, in 2020 only. So like that, lungs of planet Earth, kidneys, they may ask some other organ. So check which are those. Okay, see this image guys. Already I'm running out of time. What can you see here? Bright green color. So like that, in the polar regions, especially in the South Pole and North Pole, you can see this kind of vibrant colors like radium yellow, radium pink, radium orange, radium green, radium blue colors. They will be like vibrant. You can open the Google and you can see the different lights. You just type auroras and you can see lots of images and you will be getting astonished by seeing all those kinds of lights. Okay, so here you have to know about this auroras because in your geography this is a direct topic and already UPSC asked question related to this auroras. So auroras are nothing but they are the natural, they are not artificial lights. So nowadays in the functions we are creating some artificial lights, but they are natural lights normally seen in this polar region. And we can see radium blue color, red color, yellow, green, orange color. And these lights primarily appear near the poles of the Earth. So during near this North Pole and South Pole. These lights which are in this North Pole, they are called as aurora borealis, and South it is called as aurora australis. So how can you remember? Australia is in southern hemisphere or northern hemisphere? Southern. Aus means south. In the South Pole, if you are having this kind of light, it is called as aurora australis. In North, it is called as aurora borealis. We have boreal kind of forest, right, in the northern hemisphere. Like that, you can remember. You can use certain mnemonics. Australia, southern hemisphere. Aus means south. It is called as Aurora Australis in this south. In north, Aurora Borealis. Okay, so how do they occur here is from sun we will be getting insolation. They are nothing but the charged particles, and at these poles we have magnetic field. So these charged particles will interact with this magnetic field and they will try to emit light. That is the phenomena normally we see here. And here whenever these particles, if they are colliding with oxygen, then what happen? It will emit green color. If they are interacting with nitrogen, it will emit blue and purple shade. Okay, so like that, this is the phenomena of generation of this auroras. And next article, very important article, and you may also get a question regarding the START treaty. Please make a note. It is about START treaty, S-T-A-R-T, START treaty. START treaty. So to understand this history of the START treaty, you have to go back to World War II. So what happened in this World War II? World War II ended in which year? 1945. What happened? Atomic bombs were dropped by US in Nagasaki and Hiroshima of Japan. That means at that time only we used to have this kind of bombs which can do a mass destruction. That is the one example we can see. So after this end of World War, world entered into this Cold War. There is no direct war, but inside. At that time, two power blocks were formed. Only two power blocks. What are the USSR on one side and USA on one side? And these are the powerful countries. Already US have the technology of this bombs, atomic bombs, missiles, technology was there. And because of these two power blocks, they were formed during this Cold War, they started increasing their production of nuclear weapons, atomic bombs, missiles, whatever it may be. So if these two countries are developing at a very faster pace, is that good? No. At that time, US and as well as USSR came up with an agreement to limit the production of nuclear weapons. And at that time, they came up with this treaty called as START treaty. Okay, first treaty is a START treaty. After that, expiring of first START treaty, they came up with the SLOT, S-L-O-T, SLOT treaty. After that, they came up with this START 2 treaty, which is called as New START treaty. And this New START treaty, they want to limit the production of nuclear weapons, missiles, arsenals, whatever it may be. And now recently in the February month, this START treaty had been ended, completed. And now the problem here is, here US and Russia, these are the not only the two countries which are developing these nuclear weapons. Other countries like even small country like North Korea is having lot more advanced technology. Even Iran is having, even small country like Israel is also having that. And you know about China, you know about Pakistan, you know about India. So if we are coming with this kind of treaty only between US and Russia in this 2026 to upgrade or to limit this kind of production, it is not that much useful, because there are other countries which is also having this kind of advanced technology. So here this article is saying that we need to come up with a new treaty which has to limit this nuclear production, arsenal production, bombers, everything, and we have to include all major countries so that we can ensure safety and security of entire world. This is about this treaty. Okay, so here you may get a question regarding New START treaty only. Or else you may get a question, START treaty is in news, it was signed between which and which country? US and USSR first. Okay, like that. So if you see certain facts here, START means New Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. New START. START means nothing but Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. Recently it expired on 5th February 2026. So because of this, there is no legally binding treaty between USA and Russia to stop the production of their nuclear bombs, arsenals, etc. And if you see here, since 1972 onwards, we are having this kind of treaty to control this arms production. But now finally it had been ended in this 2026 on February 5th. It is a one cause of concern now. That means if there is no this kind of treaty now in 2026, that will lead to the increased risk of arms buildup, miscalculation, and will also escalate the future arms control, who will control which treaty, everything. So this is the one cause of concern now we are having across the world after this expiry of this treaty. And first of all, START stands for Strategic Arms Reductions Treaty, and originally it was signed between US and USSR in 1991, and it came into effect in 1994. And in the START one, they focused on limiting of nuclear warheads and intercontinental ballistic missiles on each side. And this START one lapsed in year 2009. After that, they came up with this SORT. That is nothing but Strategic Offensive Reduction Treaty. And after that, they came up with this new START treaty. It signed in year 2010, and it came into force from 2011. And finally, it had been completed its tenure in 2026. Okay, that is the thing, guys. And here you have to know about other initiatives related to nuclear weapon management across the globe. So we have NPT, Non-Proliferation Nuclear Weapons Treaty, and actually India is not part of that NPT treaty. And next one is we have Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, CTBT. It prohibits all nuclear explosions for testing purposes. Apart from that, we have Treaty on Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons in 2017, which bans the use, possession, testing and transfer of nuclear weapons under international law. So these are the other treaties apart from the START. You may get a question. Recently, New START treaty had been completed. So which of the other global treaties which are focusing on nuclear weapons? They'll give you 1, 2, 3, 4 like that, and they'll ask you which of the part or which are the not part of it. And now let us see the next article. So this article it is about Indian aviation sector. As you all know that DGCA came up with the new guidelines. In that new guidelines, they said about operation, number of hours a pilot should fly in the sky and as well as crew members. And they said about the resting time, everything. Because of this, what happened in the month of December? Indigo cancelled thousands of flights in a day, that we know. And now later on, it gave exemption to this Indigo till February. Now we are in February. Again, this article is in news. So just see about what are the guidelines they came up by this DGCA. So here you have to know about India's aviation sector. India's commercial aviation sector stands third largest in the world, and there are around 840 aircraft which are operating in India, and they are carrying around 350 million passengers annually. So it is a very high scale in our operation sector. Okay, now let us see here. So in the month of December, there is disruption related to this Indigo Airlines because of phase 2 implementation of flight duty time limitation. Okay, they said that we have to decrease the number of hours of flight for this pilots. They came up with this flight hour ceilings. And next one is the flight time capped at 60 hours over a 70-day period. So like that, you have to see just changes came up by the DGCA. Already I gave that clearly in your December month current affairs book. So see what changes they came up by this DGCA related to this number of flying hours by the pilot and resting hours for the aircrafts, everything. Because recently we had this kind of aeroplane crash of Air India in Ahmedabad, right? So because of this, these are the changes came up. That's it, guys. Just see that once. And see these questions today. I came up with 3 questions. Do it fast. First question is with reference to New START treaty. Consider the following statements. First one is the treaty prohibits the development of new types of strategic offensive arms beyond the agreed limits. Russia suspended its participation in the treaty in February 2023, citing US support for Ukraine. And next one is the treaty limits apply only to nuclear warheads, not to the delivery system like missiles or bombers. Which of the above statements are correct? Think once and tell me. Come on, think once. I'll come back. Yes, see the next question. Consider the following statements regarding the removal of Speaker of Lok Sabha. The resolution for removal requires an effective majority. The notice for such a resolution can be given by a single member of Lok Sabha. The Speaker continues to preside over the House during the discussion on the removal resolution. Think. And next one is about auroras. First statement is auroras are caused by the interaction of charged particles from sun and Earth's magnetic field and atmosphere. The northern lights, aurora borealis, are visible only in northern hemisphere, while southern lights, aurora australis, are confined to the southern hemisphere. Auroras can appear in colors like green, red, blue due to the excitation of different gases such as oxygen and nitrogen in the atmosphere. Which of the above statements are correct? Online students, please tell me your answers in the comment box. Don't forget, guys. And the CSAT course is going to be started from tomorrow itself. Try to join as soon as possible. And if you want to take online, you can directly download our app and you can purchase the course there itself. And if you want to come to offline, please visit our academy. Don't forget, guys. And if you really like this class, please do hit the like button and please do share this class to your friends. And do subscribe to Rathore Science Academy. Don't forget, guys. Thank you so much.